Hello, people of YouTube. This is Gray's Guitars. Thank you for watching. My name is Steve Gray. So, time to do my take on tube amps. Now, keep in mind, technically, the only amps I own are tube amps. I have my Carvin MTS 3200, and I have my PV 6505. So, those are my two main amps. They are both tube amps. I have had a Marshall MG full stack in the past, so I have had, and I've also had a Marshall AVT 50. That was the half stack combo. That was like a hybrid. Had the preamp tubes. Did not have the full power tubes. And now I do also have a very small. I guess it's technically a bass guitar amp. Either or. It's like a small 15 watt practice amp. Then I have my 50 watt bass amp. That is also a solid state. So let's go ahead through this article. General consensus is prices are going to go up, but also other manufacturers are starting to look to get into the market. So let's go ahead and just take a look at this article. Electro-Harmonix says export ban on Russian tubes has been lifted, warns of tariffs, higher prices, and shortages. EHX is expecting new orders and hopes to resume shipping in April, but there's a tremendous shortage of tubes. So Electro-Harmonix has confirmed that the export ban of Russian-made vacuum tubes has been lifted, with a New York firm now accepting new wholesale orders. In a statement released by their founder, Mike Matthews, the company were prioritizing existing orders and hoping to resume shipping in April, but Matthews warned of price rises, tariffs on exports, and inevitable tube shortages further down the line. Considering various economic pressures, we must raise our wholesale prices, wrote Matthews. The price increase will apply to all back and new orders. Also, the EU, so European Union, Japan, UK, and other countries are expected to implement heightened tariffs against Russian goods, keen to the 35% tariff rate imposed by Canada. The guitar amp industry has been facing a supply crisis for some time now. The export ban placed on Russia-made tubes following the invasion of the Ukraine brought the future of tube amps into question. Over the weekend, Matthews reveals that 7 brands of tubes made at his New Century factory in Russia were affected by the export ban, temporarily taking the tubes off the market. While the export ban looks to be resolved for now, Matthews cautions against canceling any wholesale orders because the underlying supply problems affecting the industry have not gone away and could be further complicated by inflation and unpredictable legal landscapes. You can cancel any back order, but we do not recommend this, he wrote. There is a tremendous shortage of tubes. So basically, yes, big tube shortage. I mean, there was already a shortage because, that one main factory in China a while back caught a fire. To my knowledge, they still haven't decided to keep producing tubes, or they just haven't done it anymore. The only real place, I think there's like one small factory in China and one larger one in Russia. We're pretty much the only two places making tubes. And the reason they're the only two places making tubes is because it is a dead technology. Meaning, besides guitar amps, it's not really used for anything anymore. Primarily what it was used for is like, if you're old enough to remember like I am, old TVs, old computer screens where the big dome, they're not flat screens. There was usually a tube on the back of those. Old radios. That's actually kind of before my time, but that's mainly what they were used for. And they're really not used for much anymore, besides certain recording equipment will use them. You can buy audio interfaces with preamp tubes. You can buy guitar pedals with tubes. Ibanez has that new tube technology, which I'm wondering if that can be implemented into something like this, because I haven't really seen that new technology anywhere besides that one particular pedal with Ibanez. But the good news is, does it really matter? I mean, let's be honest, how often do you have to change out the tubes in your tube amp unless you are switching tubes to try to get a different sound? To my knowledge, both of my tube amps have the stock tubes in it. One's from 2015, one's from 2005, and they're both working fairly well at the moment. I'm going to knock on wood here just to be on the safe side. I'm going to find some better wood here to knock on in my room. But it can take, anywhere from like, a year to the end of time for a tube to actually go. I mean, certain factors play in, how much you're actually playing it, how often you have the amp on. And I'll be honest with you, I usually play unplugged most of the time because I do not want to disturb the people around me. So if everybody's out of the house, then yeah, sure, I'll crank up the tube amp and have at it. But most of the time, unfortunately, they are collecting dust. Most modern playing musicians that go out and are gigging, most of them aren't really using a tube amp. I mean, maybe they might be using a tube amp to a certain extent or have something with preamp tubes in it, but the chances of them not having like a modular, very slim. 9 out of 10. There's not big. As long as the venue, I should say, has some sort of PA system, they can just plug the modular right into the PA. Comes right out of the PA. Nobody really knows the difference unless you're an actual musician. You don't have to have a giant half stack anymore, or maybe you have like a 2x12 cabinet, something small, or even a 1x12. I've seen people mic up a 1x12. And it sounds fine. They're playing it. The tone sounds fine. Is it the best tone in the world? No, but it works for what they're doing. If you're just jamming out to covers. So I don't think this is really going to affect a lot of people unless you're trying to buy a new tube amp right now, or unfortunately in the next 2 to 3 years, your tubes crap out. Because if they do crap out in the next 2 to 3 years, you're probably going to have to pay a premium. You might be able to get away with finding some used ones because there's plenty of used tubes lying around. Basically old stock, used, brand new old tubes that are stock that aren't brand new, fresh out the factory yesterday, but brand new, sealed in the box. No one's ever actually bothered to use the things because they're obsolete and Grandpa had a hoarding problem. Something along those lines. But on the plus side, let's take a look at this other company that is more of a boutique amp maker based in Georgia that has decided, heck, we're going to capitalize on the market to try to see if we can sell some tubes to people that need them, because everybody's freaking out right now. Everybody's trying to get, it's kind of like the toilet paper shortage to a certain extent. If we all remember what happened with that, everybody was out buying toilet paper and napkins and tissues, couldn't find anything. And it's kind of like the same thing. Everybody's freaking out right now and going to rush and buy tubes. At least I have a backup. So if one of my amps goes, I'm in no hurry to replace the tubes in it. I have another one. If they both go, I would be very sad. And 50-50, if I would sell them, or I'd probably just hold on to them and wait and use my little practice amp or buy a solid state or something in the meantime. I don't have anything against solid states. I just got kind of, I hate to say tricked into it. But when you're younger, you buy a solid state amp. I had this huge Marshall MGX 100 and full stack I got for a really good price when I was in high school. And, my one friend was like, oh, you got to have a tube amp. It's not a tube amp. It's not a real amp, blah, blah, blah. And then I looked into it more and, all the boomers, especially Boomer Energy, going on are like, oh, you gotta have a tube amp, So I went into it, and the amount of, I think I paid more money for the PV6505 Plus head back when I bought it after it was a couple of years old. I think I bought it back in like 2017, I want to say, somewhere around there. It was somewhere in that range. And I paid more for that entire head than I did for my entire full stack that I was perfectly content with. It was massively loud. Yes, it took up a lot of room. I didn't need a full stack, but it was fun having it while it lasted. And I kind of miss it from time to time. I did like the AVT 50H with the preamp tubes a little bit better. I did like the sound of that better. It was a little bit louder than the full stack, but I was perfectly content with that full stack until I started questioning it because I got into that mindset of, solid state. You can't have solid state. You can't have modulars. It's not a real tube amp. It doesn't sound the same, man. Even though by the time you're done recording it and digitizing it, you can't tell the difference. Anyway, well, very, very minute differences. We'll go with that. Let's take a look at this article. The Georgia-based company, which already manufactures tubes for its ultra-premium hi-fi equipped, is asking customers which tubes they'd like to see manufactured in America. Aside from being a major player in guitar effects industries, Electro-Harmonix is a hugely significant part of the vacuum tube industry. Under its own name, a number of umbrellas, Electro-Harmonix has manufactured vacuum tubes for use in guitar amps for decades and is the chief tube supplier for many American manufacturers. Unfortunately, though, many EHX tubes are manufactured in Russia. Last week, the New York-based company announced, after uncertainty, there's going to be higher prices, as we've already seen in the other article. Now, Western Electric, a company legendary for its ultra-premium hi-fi equipment, has publicly announced that it's considering getting into the guitar tube industry as a means for lessening supply-demand change. Given it already manufactures a vacuum tube, the 300B, the Georgia-based company, seems well placed to fulfill the gap. In the spirit of Western Electronics, has asked interested customers to fill out a form and ask which tubes choices, including the 12AX7, which I believe that is like the most common or one of the most common preamp tubes. Yes, that is a preamp tube, very common preamp tube you will see in a large amount of amps. I believe both of mine have it. 6L6, that might be your power tube. I believe those are the power tubes. Oh, nope, I don't want to copy anything. I want to search it. Yeah, so I believe that's what's in my PV, and I believe it's also what's in the Carvin. They have the 12AX7 for the preamp and the 6L6 for the power tubes. They'd like to see the company produce, and if quality, delivery, speed, or price would be the most important to them. So price, I can tell you right now, price. Well, quality too, to a certain extent, but if they can do this for cheaper than Electro-Harmonix, that's where people are going to go. Now, it's worth pointing out that the already existing Western Electronic 300B tube is a boutique, high-grade part of the highest degree. A single 300B will set you back $700, while a matching pair rings of an eye-watering $1,500. A 4-pack of these tubes, meanwhile, goes for $3,099. So yeah, that'd be expensive. Along those lines, the company's top line from the 91E amp powered by a pair of 300Bs is priced at $13,499. Yeah, no wonder I've never heard of them, because I couldn't afford them in my wildest dreams, let's be honest. Most people can't. Who's paying 14 grand for an amp? Given that Western Electric is going to go to the trouble of asking customers of the price of the top order, however it can be for the customers to ask for a cheaper, more plentiful tubes, the company may very well make them, potentially lessening the shortage that Electro-Harmonix has. For the Western Electric and its products in the meantime, and fill out the company's tube questionnaire, you can go to their website. That is ridiculous. I have never heard of a tube that cost that much money. That is the most. It better last forever. That's all I'm saying. Is that tube better last till the end of frigging time? Because if it doesn't, I'm going to be very sad. I've never seen this website in my life. Let's go with buy. Let's see what they sell. Oh, hold on. One of these stupid websites. Buy. Okay, buy. Integrated amplifier. How many millions are they still on one of these things for? What's the price? That's a pre-order. But if the tube is going for, that money, I don't really want to know what the heck these amps are going for. And this, it's got to be like some high quality stuff. But at the same time, how many people can actually afford it? So we'll leave it at there. In all honesty, if you have a tube amp, don't fret, don't worry about it right now. If it craps out, maybe go get a solid state and suck it up for a little bit, and then when the tube shortage is done, go get your tubes back. But I don't really think this is going to be a huge problem, and I really don't think it's going to affect that many people. But you never know. Maybe my tube amp will, something bad will happen to it tomorrow, and I'm going to be sad and crying, and then I'll make another video about it. But that's where I'm going to end it. Thank you for watching. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars. If you're new, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, leave a like, and comment down below what you want to see for future guitar and music related videos. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good one.